The Basilica of St. Josaphat is located on the South Side of Milwaukee in the historic Lincoln Village neighborhood. It's an excellent example of the Polish cathedral style and part of the Milwaukee skyline easily seen from Interstate 94. It's remarkable, one of the most beautiful churches in America and the largest church in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Architect Erhard Brielmaier, whose firm built over 1,000 churches, hospitals, and schools throughout North America, modeled the church after St. Peter's in Rome. St. Josaphat was constructed using salvaged material from the U.S. Post Office and Custom House in Chicago. These materials were purchased for $20,000 by Father Grutza and brought to Milwaukee on 500 flatbed rail cars. To accommodate use of the salvaged materials, Brielmaier reimagined the design while staying true to creating a church in the image of St. Peter's and the need to serve its more than 12,000 parishioners. Very few stones were recut due to his brilliant re-engineering of the plans. Ground was broken in 1896, and like many Midwestern Catholic churches, it was constructed by faithful Polish immigrant laborers. Construction was not without issue. They ran into financial trouble, which led to parishioners mortgaging their own homes and Brielmaier paying workers from his personal finances in order to complete the project. During construction, sadly, one parishioner builder lost his life. Anton Kasperzik was a teamster driving a horse-drawn wagon when a rope and pulley lifting one of the church's huge stones snapped, causing his frightened horses to flip the wagon. Kasperzik ended up under the falling stone. A plaque in his memory hangs in the church. Construction of the church was completed in 1901. Upon completion, the church had the second largest dome in the USA, surpassed only by the U.S. Capitol. Starting in the Pope John Paul II Pavilion, you'll find interesting artifacts on display, as well as beautiful stained glass windows dedicated to other prominent basilicas. The rose window is a focal point, with Our Lady of Czestochowa in the center and surrounded by St. Kateri Tekakwitha, St. Francis Xavier Cabrini, St. Catherine Drexel, and St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. Pope John Paul II's coat of arms is to the right, and the basilica's coat of arms is to the left. Continuing through the pavilion, in the donor chapel is a stunning stained glass window of Jesus and the children. As we make our way through the corridor toward the basilica, several stained glass windows of saints and martyrs color the space in our transition. Aside from some beautiful stained glass windows imported from Austria, the interior remained mainly blank until 1926, when Italian artist Gonippo Raggi was brought in to decorate the interior. The work took 2 years to complete, with motifs, sculptures, decorative paintings, murals, and beautiful stained glass windows. There is no unadorned space inside the church. In 1929, Pope Pius XI declared St. Josaphat a basilica. At the time, it was only the third basilica in the U.S. In 1950, Gonippo returned to restore some of his work that was damaged by an electrical fire. The oval paintings inside the dome were originally daylight scenes, but Raggi made them into nighttime scenes when he was unable to undo all the darkening damage from the smoke. These reliefs above the main doors are of Archbishop Katzer, Pope Leo XIII, and Cardinal Martinelli. An interesting bit of trivia: the only real marble in the basilica are the grand pulpit, high altar, and Last Supper relief, Stations of the Cross above the confessionals, and the 3 reliefs over the main entrance. A painting above the east exit depicts Reverend Peter Skarga, a 17th century Jesuit, preaching before the Polish royal court. Above the east confessionals are the first 7 Stations of the Cross carved from marble. They're inscribed in Polish. This beautiful window in the transept on the east side shows the Blessed Mother with the infant Jesus presenting the rosary to St. Dominic, with St. Catherine Siena looking on in the background. St. Thomas Aquinas is on the left, and St. Hyacinth is on the right. It's a bit unusual to find a statue of St. Apollonia, the patron saint of dentists, within a church. Here she is on the left in the Our Lady of the Rosary altar. St. Ignatius is on the right. The grand pulpit is carved of marble and contains the images of Jesus the Good Shepherd and the 4 evangelists, St. Matthew, St. Mark, St. Luke, and St. John. The oculus, or center of the dome, is made of Eastern European crystal. The center of this window is removable, allowing for air circulation in the warmer months. The layer outside of the oculus contains images of 8 of the 9 choirs of angels: seraphim, cherubim, thrones, dominions, virtues, powers, angels, and principalities. The 9th type, archangels, is depicted on the ceiling over the sanctuary. 8 rondelles below the angels depict Old Testament prophets who predicted the coming of the Messiah. 8 lunettes contain paintings of evangelists, apostles, and doctors of the church. The drum of the dome features 8 paintings depicting the 7 sacraments and the adoration of the Magi. 8 stained glass windows depict Mary and Eastern European shrines devoted to her. The corona of the dome bears an inscription in Old Polish from 1 Kings: "I consecrate this house you have built. I place my name here forever. My eyes and my heart will be here for all time." 8 lunette paintings portraying the life of St. Francis of Assisi exist in the 4 corners just below the dome. The Sacred Heart altar shows Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque at Paray-le-Monial, France. To the right of the altar is a statue of Saint Francis of Assisi. Four onyx columns support the altar of sacrifice with a relief of the Eucharist in the center. The high altar, with a relief of the Last Supper, holds the tabernacle and sits just under the baldacchino, covered with 23-karat gold leaf. Inscribed in Latin is "Behold God's dwelling place among men." The painting behind the high altar is the Martyrdom of St. Josaphat. In the apse above the baldacchino is the Glorification of St. Josaphat, containing over 25 figures. The baptismal font contains a hammered copper bowl, which is surrounded by a carved marble rim. The Annunciation altar holds a painting of Our Lady of Czestochowa. To the left, you can see the ombrellino, evocative of those carried over papal authorities and a privileged mark of a basilica. The West confessionals contain the last 7 stations of the cross. In the rose window above the organ gallery are images of the four evangelists. A painting above the west exit is General Thaddeus Kosciuszko leading Polish peasants into the battle against Russian invaders. As we head back to the pavilion, in the lower level of the visitor center connected to the basilica is an historic exhibit where visitors can learn about the history of the basilica, view the close-ups of the interior dome paintings, see historical photographs, and, what I think is the best part, a reliquary chapel, where you can see one of the largest displays of religious relics in North America. This area is also referred to as the lower church and is used for daily mass, Eucharistic adoration, and other gatherings. A Kimball boxcar organ was installed here in 2016. The boxcar organ got its name from basically being a ready-to-go organ. It was shipped in a boxcar and only required minimal assembly. This one came from the Scottish Rite Cathedral in Chicago. At nearly 500 relics, the basilica has one of the largest collections of relics in Milwaukee. For more information on the basilica, please visit the websites in the description of this video. Thanks for watching.